What's up, everybody? This is Karak with ACG, and welcome to my Q&A for this month. You know, people have asked me, should I do it more often? No, I think at the size of the channel, once a month is great. This is almost two the day, so I think this works out perfect. We're just going to jump straight on in. I want to say thanks to anybody and everybody who supports the channel, regardless of how you do it. The first one is from Sept. This is about Telltale. Do you think it makes sense for them to use a new engine or improve their old one? Telltale Games, by the way. So we're talking about everything from the Borderlands series, of course, to Wolf Among Us, to something like, let's say, Batman. I would love to see them redo their engine, completely redo it. What I mean is basically build a new one. One of the reasons why is because I feel that something behind the scenes is most likely the cause of a lot of their narrative choices, where no matter what you choose at the end, you're pretty close to everybody else. And we talked about this in a past podcast, actually, just a couple days ago, where my belief is that I would like to see them improve that engine to handle the scalability that it should for the Xbox original and PS4 original, PS4 Pro, and Scorpio, Xbox One S, and of course the PC, which it doesn't right now. It's got issues with frame rates for some people. It's got issues with loading for some people. It's got problems across the board. It's an okay engine now because it has seen some updates. I would love to see it get a full, absolutely new rebuild and have them just nail it so that their scripting language really allowed for a far more variability as they go down the line. Big Sweeper says, why no audio hardware reviews? So I'm going to be doing a bunch of those. I've got 3 planned, and I'm doing, I actually recorded one already. I just haven't posted it yet. I'm doing 3 headset mic reviews for consoles, PCs, that kind of thing. And there's a reason why it's taken me so long. 1, I didn't feel that the channel was big enough. 2, you have to really look at what I do. When I review a game, it's a V version of a review, which means the point at the bottom is the game, and it goes out to everybody, and everybody experiences the same thing. When I crash a car and you crash a car and Joe Blow crashes a car, the sound effect played, other than the dynamics within it, the sound effect played is the same sound effect with the same bit rate and with the same overall frequency responses. And it's so I can talk about that one game and know that everybody who gets it, you know, aside from them having a different receiver and that kind of thing, are still getting the same source. You're reverting it when you're, or inverting it when you go to like a headset review, because you have one headset and you have the variability of all these games. That can be more difficult because what if this game just sounds bad? What if this game just sounds good? A dice game, for example. And I talk about this in my first review where I'm reviewing a headset, and I discuss the methodology of why I'm doing it, why it's taken so long, and what I look at. I think that when I go into these headset reviews, you guys need to understand the first one's going to be a little bit long because I need to describe all that, and the second and third will be a little bit shorter. These are not a low, medium, and high priced range kind of headsets thing. They're the headsets that I've got, how they sound, their price point, and do I believe that their price equals what people are asking for. So soon. Let's see, Michigan 33. I don't really understand Patreon. What is it? Okay, so when you're trying to support me and you, let's say you whitelist the channel, so you come to my channel and you actually see the ads, or you click on an ad because you know that pays a little bit more even though you have no plan to buy it. That's great. But it actually equals something different in September than it does in July, because YouTube has different amounts that they're selling those ads for all through the year. So that creates one issue. Additionally, of course, somebody like me who has to go out and buy every game I review, regardless if I get a free copy from a publisher, I still buy a copy so that I can give away to patrons. That reviews cost money. So what happens with Patreon is it's a way for you guys to support me. If you've ever looked inside your wallet and been like, I have 50 extra bucks because Karak saved me from buying that shit game, Battlefield Hardline. Or if you look at it and you're like, where's my 50 bucks? Oh, that's right, Karak just gave me 40 hours of fun because he told me to go and buy this game. That's what Patreon's for you to basically go and say, you know what, I'm going to support this person. Now, in my rewards in Patreon, I consistently check other people's patrons, even if they're not in games, to make sure I'm offering something. So if you go and you're like, I wish he offered this and that, feel free to email me, angrycentaurgaming@gmail.com, and I'll try to add it. But Patreon, basically, long story short, is a place for you to help support me at your behest, or at your, let's see, at your speed, I mean, where you get to choose. Let's see, the next one up, Denzel. How do you feel about forgotten franchises such as Tenchu or Jack and Dexter? Do you believe such franchises will exist again, or am I just thinking, wishful thinking? Thanks. So that's a good question. When it comes down to it, I think we need to all really sort of have a reality check here. First of all, a lot of people said, oh, when Rare sold to Microsoft, Rare was never the same Rare they were before. Incorrect. Rare was never the same Rare prior to that because they were already jettisoning people. A company isn't just a company, and you can't just throw the same people in there. For example, Tenchu and Jack and Daxter, we don't know if those people who worked on those games are even there before. Now, we've had successes in the past with games coming into the future. Doom this year was fantastic, and I believe not a single person, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure not a single person who worked on it had ever worked on a past Doom. They nailed it. And as somebody who lived within the Doom world when it originally came out, I can tell you the honest to God truth is that is an absolute masterpiece when it comes to translating past into future into your fucking brains. Spectacular job. So it's possible. But I think that a lot of companies look and they say, Jack and Daxter, they're like, okay, is this a vocal minority that wants it? Is a vocal majority that wants it? Why was it successful in the past? Do we have enough data to know why it was successful? Was it successful because of story, or was it the timing? Were platformers just bigger then? Are platformers making a comeback now? Should we look at it that way? Should we attach a name to it that arbitrarily attracts attention from older fans who may actually have expectations we can't meet? And then lastly, who knows if those fans are still in the game industry? Something that gamers need to start really coming to grips with is every single game or every single day a new gamer comes into this industry. Every single day a new gamer says, I am buying my PS4 for the first time and I'm jumping into it. Every single day a kid fucking gets a present that's a console system that they've wanted, or they get their family's first PC, right? The same thing with leaving it. People fucking die. People leave. People stop buying consoles. People just slowly get out of the system. I've had multiple friends that I don't even talk about games with anymore, that's how I ended up knowing them. They have quite literally jettisoned from there. And guess what? Many of those would probably be Jack and Daxter fans, maybe Tenchu as well. So you have that situation where a company has to look and do some balancing acts. And to be brutally honest, though I like KOTOR, I would never want to see a KOTOR remaster. A KOTOR 3 might be nice, but that's also because I like Star Wars and because I like some of the stuff that Star Wars has done. But it's one of the very rare few that I actually want to see something from the past coming into the future. And I think that, you know, when you look at it, you just need to be really realistic with what company's there to make the thing you want. Would you want a Tenchu that sucks? Because that could be very possible if those people involved are just gone. So, long story short, it's there's a lot of good discussion around that we could have, but I would personally say you're not wishful thinking, you're just assuming that there's a lot more information out there for these companies to go on that they may not have. Quicksoul says, if YouTube isn't the best, why don't you push Patreon more or PayPal donations? Your voice is like money being shoved into my wallet. The reason why I don't push Patreon is it's very uncomfortable for me. It's not uncomfortable because I don't feel like I'm giving people stuff on the Patreon levels, because I do. I just played games. I played 9 hours of games just this month with different gamers who are on different levels on Patreon. Gave away different clothing, all that kind of stuff. We've got a Discord chat. I think the Patreon is really cool, but I do like the fact that somebody seeks me out and goes there versus me pushing it, because I feel it's almost like, if you, I mean, it's hard to even describe it this way, but in a relationship, if you continually chase and finally get somebody, yeah, that might be worth it. But what if they like you at the starting, I guess? I don't know if that's really a very good explanation for it, but I sort of like the idea of people watching something and looking at what I offer and saying, this is worth it to me. And this is not only worth it to me, but Sally Struthers, before she ate all the homeless kids, she used to always say, the price of a cup of coffee a day. People think that's like not true. It's completely true. If I had even 1/4 of the people who follow me and say they enjoy my stuff, I'm not talking about the total subscriber number. I'm talking about the total number of people who post on a channel, on a video that I have per month. If all of those people said, I am not buying 1 cup of coffee for 1 day in the entire month, $1 or $2, and I'm putting that into Patreon, that means just 1 day they would go without their coffee, whatever, go without their cola, whatever they're drinking. I would never have to run ads on the channel. It's that small, but it's very hard to get it. People will post and they'll say, man, you just saved me $50. I appreciate it. And I'll say, spread the word, maybe check out Patreon. And they're like, I don't believe in Patreon. I go, okay, well, okay. I mean, I'm giving you as much as I can possibly give you. I think the channel shows that, and my hope is people do it themselves. I will push it occasionally, though. Elaine says, what games are you anticipating this fall and beginning of 2017, and why? So Mafia 3 I really am, because while I like what I'm seeing video-wise and stuff like that, the gameplay still looks a little shoddy to me. I'll be just at the basis level, being super honest there, this last couple of videos have showed some jank that I wasn't super happy with. They did some gameplay videos, and I was like, damn. And I should have went to those events, but I just didn't have the money. Those companies will pay for a couple things, but it still costs you to go on the event. And I was asked to go to check it out, to put video on the channel, and I just didn't think I could swing it. And I wish I had, because I would like to have got a good hands-on with that. When it comes to what I'm really looking forward to this fall, Mafia, for sure. I'm absolutely excited for it. Gears of War, for sure. Absolutely excited for it. Next year sort of goes all haywire, to be honest. We've had some games postponed towards next year that I'm sort of interested in. But I think right now, when it comes to next year, I'm just more interested in a lot of indies and Kickstarters. And some of the bigger AAA games I'm really interested in. I just don't know where they're going to land. So sorry about 2017 not having a very good answer there. Fitz Not Simmons says, why are games so friggin' big right now? 50 gigs for Gears of War on the console. 50 gigs plus for Gears of War on the console. So you can test this yourself if you want by getting WinRAR and trying to compress different types of files. There's different types of files in games that compress a particular way. And then additionally, you have proprietary file types like these companies have for their different games. So they're huge. And then we're looking at 4K, we're looking at HDR, which that one doesn't necessarily add a ton of space, but certainly textures in 4K do, and people trying to prepare, because you know, if you're upscaling to 4K on even an Xbox One S or a PS4 Pro, you would want as good a texture as you can possibly get. So you're like, hey, you know what? I'll throw the good version on this disc as well. There's hundreds of different things in which developers can do to shrink that, and there's also ways in which they can just say, who gives a shit? Now, I want to also say this, because I hear this all the time. Oh man, this game's only 6 gigs. It can't be worth it. Bullshit. You should definitely not think that. You should not also think that a game worth 50 gigs is going to be worth it and it's going to be amazing. That's not how it works. It's never how it works. So get that out of your mind. Shane says, what's your opinion on achievements and trophies? So from my standpoint, achievements and trophies are great. I win the game, and that's enough for me. If I got a platinum for it, I would feel nothing, nor would I care. In fact, I would be bothered by it popping up. But other people like those things. I think from my standpoint, it's just a sort of a lackadaisical, From developer standpoints, it's different. You get a lot of developers who are like, listen, it's great that people want to play the game, but we have no clue if they're playing it because they like it or they just want a platinum. We want a passionate fan, a fan who's out there fighting for us, versus maybe a fan who is saying, hey, go buy this game because it's a free platinum. And people are like going to rental places and buying it versus like, having that mental thought of supporting the company. So there's a lot of gray area when it comes to achievements and platinums and trophies and all that kind of stuff. But I would say personally for me, it matters not. I don't care at all. For developers and publishers, it meanders around there depending on what type of fan they're looking for, and if they feel that they can make an achievement worth it to maybe increase your enjoyment as well. Next up, Rumpelbinskin. Why don't you do more of the fake commercials? That was hilarious, man. 2 times a month. I almost went full Exorcist on my keyboard. So the fake commercials, I have to make sure that my cynicism doesn't really eclipse my critical thinking. So when I go into a game review, I got to be critical, and cynicism comes out of me as jokes when things are crazy, right? That's fine. But I don't want to be too cynical, because I don't want to go into game reviews and be unfair to the game, nor too fair to the game and like whitewash things. So there's a sort of a nice defining line there that I have to make sure that I've always got my eyes on. But when it comes to why I don't do more of those videos, I'm going to be doing more. I've got one I'm working on right now with another YouTuber who's helping me out on some Photoshop for it. They're just fun for me to do, and they're enjoyable and goofy for me to do. I will be doing some more. They will be, of course, me poking fun at the industry. No real hard feelings, just sort of finding some things funny. So you will see me do those more. And I'm glad you liked them. That's all I can say. Kurt says, what's your favorite game in the Elder Scrolls series and why? Mine's Oblivion. So, okay. So I have, this is going to be pissy for a lot of people. Basically, I have a favorite land, a favorite game overall, and a favorite moment. So my favorite moment, by none, Skyrim, 10,000 Steps. We had 3 people here. It's not a co-op game. We had 3 people here, and we were all playing this. We got it all at the same time. We started climbing those steps, and there's just something so friggin'... It's absolutely almost spiritual when you're climbing those steps. It's a little bit like Dragon's Dogma when you're taking the Hydra head and you're going to the city, and the night changes into day or day into night, and you get that time change. Well, that's what you get with 10,000 Steps, where you're going up and it's changing, and the weather's changing, and it's just that crystalline feeling of the ice and snow. I cannot describe to you how cool I think that is. In fact, now I want to go play it. That's my favorite moment. My favorite land, Morrowind, bar none. I had that thing on the original Xbox and, of course, on the PC. Morrowind, something about the exploratory, I wanted to always go over the next hill and over that next hill. And you know what? That hill right there, going over it. What about that? No, over that one too. It was always just going over each hill and finding a new set of ruins or something like that. It didn't look the best, and we saw that the moment we were playing it, but it was still a very enjoyable game world. And the idea of more of a swampland versus the typical, ultra forest that we see in other games, I would say that was my favorite land. Favorite game, Daggerfall. So I've explained this multiple times in podcasts. A friend who had PCs, I was a console person. I had gone from PCs and, the older PCs to consoles, and I hadn't really done much with PC, and a friend invited me over, and they were like, hey, do you want to see this Daggerfall game? Daggerfall was almost scary in what you can do. If you go and look at the options in what you can do in Daggerfall, it is actually a bit scary. You can do some crazy shit. That game is so flexible, it's mind-boggling at times. Just go back and read some of the wikis and some of the different things you can do in that game, and you'll be like, damn, son. I mean, there is an incredible amount of flexibility, and the gameplay loop there isn't a loop of grind, right? It's actually, for me, it was a loop of discovery, where it was just like, oh my god, what, really, oh my god. And it wasn't just like a new place, it was a new thing I could do, it was some new trick I could do. It was a new place, then it was going back and finding a character and talking to them and seeing what they're doing, and it was crazy. I mean, it's still, to this day, I have a difficult time comparing other games to Daggerfall and what it offered at that time. So unfortunately, 3 answers for 1 question. Bitberry says, saw your tweet about No Man's Sky, what's your thoughts? So my tweet was that the ASA is investigating them on basically the false pretenses, false sales, fraud and salesmanship, all those kind of things. I think that me personally, I believe that we've seen enough to know that there is something really crappy happened. We do know that what they said was in there is not, and there's a large amount of it. So I would say that if you look at it pretty much in any way, shape, or form right now, they have a case. And the case is that we did see some kind of fraudulent behavior when it came from what was being offered to what we got. However, everybody needs to understand, you guys hear me say this, we as gamers need to understand that there is a gray area in development, and that gray area includes things being cut, money being cut, situations occurring, resources going away, resources being added, and just overall the power of a system and what you can offer. So just because I feel that for that game doesn't mean every single game that's had, said we're going to have this, oh, we can't have that, doesn't mean that I feel that game also has the same issue. That's why investigations are done. Gamers inherently do not like gray areas. It's easier to defend a black and white situation. It's easier to say I have 8 gigs of memory versus we have a split section of memory, even though technically split does sort of suck. But we have this situation where gamers get almost defensive whenever there isn't something that they can put their line against, whether it be because they want to win a forum war that's completely unwinnable because you're basically arguing against another dumbass, or it's a situation where it just makes them feel like they spent their money on something worthwhile, which I think is probably the highest level of the moral superiority in this situation, where you do want to feel like you spent your money on something, and that's okay. But we just don't like the gray areas. But there is gray areas in game development. There is situations that can change and can occur, and I think that we need to look at it as isolated incidents and look at each one and and sort of go from there, versus saying, okay, if No Man's Sky gets in trouble for this, every game should, for every little thing. I don't believe it. I can't tell you how many times I've watched a movie trailer where that scene, they pretend all the time that these 2 moments happen one after the other. You're a bad guy. No, I'm not. And you're like, that's going to happen in the movie. That's going to be awesome. And you go, and this guy says, you're a bad guy. And 2 hours later, this person says, no, I'm not, to somebody who's completely unrelated and not in the same fucking scene, and it has nothing to do with one another. I don't think that's fraud. I think that has to do with editing and cutting things and resources. So we need to be very smart, and we need to be very mature about our discussion around it. So Chris says, what do you think is the best release this year? What shattered expectations? Well, I mean, I think Doom is probably pretty high on that. Doom shattered my expectations and is a really good game. And maybe it doesn't have the longevity of some other games, but I think when it comes to its core context and how much you're getting out of it when you purchase it, I feel that I got an insane amount of good out of it, and it's a fantastic death parkour, as I've said, kind of game, and I really enjoy it, and I think that is well worth it and probably fits pretty good into both those. But I don't do a best release. I've told you guys that. It's very hard for me to even do Game of the Year because I feel that it's a little bit difficult sometimes to really compare, let's say, a $10 Kickstarter game with a $60 full, backed up by a giant company resourced game. So that's about the best answer you get out of me. Chris, what do you think the best? Oh, no. Dean says HDR. Where is it and what is it? So I know what Dean's talking about. He's basically saying, like, what's an update on HDR? The update is you have to really think about this as three different contextual groups. You have TV groups, you have console manufacturers, and we'll say PC, we'll lump them in there. And then you have PC monitors, because they are different than TV monitors. We've known that for years. That's why we have people buying one or the other. So the problem is HDR PC tech is behind the times right now for this new version of Spec 2020 or Rec 2020 kind of HDR. And then you have TVs who did it because of movies. They didn't do it because of games. So they did it because of movies. They don't care about input lag. So for most TVs, input lag is bad, which then impacts the console manufacturers. Now the console manufacturers are like, boom, we got it. Though, for reasons unknown, Sony said they're not they're not putting a Blu-ray player in their system, whatever. That was not the best bet. But normal PS4s have HDR, PS4 Pros have HDR, Xbox One S has HDR, and both new ones will have HDR. That's great. I think what we're looking at is three distinct different groups, and that's going to delay the movement forward for a little while as everybody tries to decide HDR10, Dolby Vision. There's pluses to both. There's situations here and there. So we really have to look at it as a technology in which I have told you guys multiple times, there is no reason to buy an HDR set. None. There's not enough media for it. And if you do get it, you are buying technology that is either older or newer and costs too much. And right now, I can tell you, it's so weird to have somebody tell me, well, I'm getting an HDR TV no matter what. Like, I need to get an HDR TV. And I'm just blown away by it. I'm like, dude, you literally are spending a ton of money to jump in early on an older tech that will not be as good as later tech that will be cheaper, and there's no media right now. If there was media right now, if you guys were swimming in HDR media, I would have a completely different thought process on this. But until some company comes out and says we patched every game to be HDR or something like that, which that's not as easy as that sounds, I just feel that you need to hold on, you need to wait it out, and you need to get these companies starting to release every game as HDR on the consoles. Those TVs need to get their input lag down, need to get rid of edge lighting completely. Absolutely terrible, terrible older technology needs to go, but we need to get full array at a cheaper price, and then we sort of merge them all together. PC, of course, is separate. They're making their moves, though. Creating Beyond Limits says, any tips for small YouTubers? I've discussed this in the past. I think that when it comes to YouTube, create what gives you passion, man. Go out there and create the fuck out of something, and do it because you want to. And I'm not saying you'll get a ton of views, but you'll get views that'll be honest to what you're creating. Because if you create something that is not really within you as something that you're fiery and passionate and burned up about, there's going to be a situation where there's a translation error, because sometimes, and I've seen this on videos where maybe I've like went too long on a subject or didn't go long enough, where somebody said something. I've had a hard time really finding my center on the discussion. That's because I wasn't inherently like in depth in that discussion. I was sort of on the side. And those are the videos that I think are the poorest of mine. I think that it's the best when you are in the center of that discussion. You can speak about it with personal interest and personal expertise, and maybe even expertise about the companies around you or whatever situation you're dealing with, but that you do it from there so there is just absolutely 100% transparency, right? That you're in the center of the subject, and when people talk to you, their post comes straight to you. There isn't any translation that needs to be done, because you have to remember what mood you were in that day, right? Or did you care about it then, but now you don't care about it as much? I think that causes an issue. Now, if you're talking about, hey, I just want to make money, then, do the same drama bullshit everybody else does. Let's see. I didn't get a name for this. What do you think about backwards compatibility? I think it's great. I think the one positive about the Xbox One and the Xbox One S is backwards compatibility. Especially, man, I just sat down with Cadiz and we played the Xbox One S. We played Red Dead and, upscaled to 4K. Primo. That literally was one of the first times where I've looked at an upscaled game and been like, damn, that is really good looking. So backwards compatibility is great to get you some of those titles that aren't available right now. I think it is a fantastic addition to people's sort of tools of the trade when it comes to entertainment. Michael V says, what kind of a gaming experience do you expect 10 to 15 years from now? Is VR really what we should expect? No, No. VR will continue to improve. We also know that there are different wireless situations that they're coming up with, and we'll see routers. I can guarantee you we will see routers very soon called like VR router, where they're set up, probably just quality of service, but where they're set up to give wireless VR the most bandwidth they can possibly give. Stuff like that. We're going to see a lot of marketing speak. But is VR replacing TVs? No, because we already know that there's smart walls coming. To some of the installers I talked to, they're already discussing that. We have out of Japan at different trade shows. You have the, fucking quarter of an inch thick screens. You have situations like that people are looking at where you'll have basically, two wires or maybe just a wireless signal going into a wall, and the wall will look pretty much normal until you turn it on, and then it'll be a TV. I think that's where we'll see the tech is in dueling trades there. We're going to see VR shrink up. We're going to see it become much more compatible with a normal situation where a person just wants to put something on and view it. Will it get past, say, VR or 3D glasses? It probably won't get past that for a while, but I would say within 10 or 15 years, you're going to see those as sort of not dueling technologies, but technologies that are improving upon one another in their separate experience tracks. But I don't see a combination of those yet, because I certainly don't know almost anybody who just wants to go, let's say, all VR. They want to be able to walk around the room, talk to people while they're there, not wear something, and that's going to, especially the not wearing something, is going to take a while. Rick says, should all games have a tangible fail state, some form of punishment? I know where Rick's coming from. We've already talked about this game multiple times, but there's a couple games, especially lately, that have no fail state. You really can't die, right? Is it still a game? Of course it's still a game. You can have games that have really incredibly hard fail states where you barely get hit and you die instantly. Some bullet hell shooters are like that. And then you have some games where you just can't die. Is it still a game? Yeah, there's still game-like aspects to it. But I think that for many people, the competitiveness, even against themselves and how they do, matters. And I think that that's important too. But when it comes down to it, those are still games. Yes, absolutely. Do they need to have a tangible fail state? No. No. I think that most people would like them to, though. I think the majority would. Rodrigo says, where in the world is Shawn Murray? So Shawn Murray, of course, one of the heads of Hello Games, I believe the head lead developer, and main man, whatever you want to call him. He's probably got his head down and he's doing the patches and he's doing what he can. It's got to be a situation in which no one knows what's going on behind the scenes right now. We'll see that in a couple years. I would certainly bet we'll see some leaks where people start talking about what happened and why. But right now, it seems like patches are being done occasionally, and that he's got his head down and working on it. So that's where we are right now. Lyrics. I hate the maybe subscribe. Can you stop it? No. How it your? I don't really like non-numerical reviews. Why do you do it? And can you do numbered alongside? No. I talked about this a while ago. I can't remember who it was. It was an online video game. It might have been like Eurogame or something. They switched, and they made a big deal. We're switching to non-numerical video game reviews. Bullshit. That doesn't matter. That's completely beside the point. You could call it fucking red, orange, blue, and green for all I care. But you have to intrinsically be naturally tied to the reasons why you're giving those scores. Buy, wait for sale, rent, or never touch was created years before I ever started YouTube. That was something I had thought about years before. And there's reasons why, especially based around money and based around numerical scores, where, as I've stated before, if an 8's an 8 for a Kickstarter, how could technically an 8 be an 8 for a AAA company because of the difference in prices, right? So you have some weirdness there. What if one drops in price? Where does it go on the rating scale? Does it raise up, or is it still, let's say a game that's, $60 is a 6. What happens when it's $50? What happens when it's $20? What happens when it's $10? Does it go above a 6, or is it still a 6? And the thing is you can say it's still a 6, but I think a lot of people don't really work that way. They work with what I paid for, what did I get out of it? And $10, a 6 is still a 6, right? Like that sort of makes sense. But when I say buy, wait for sale, rent, or never touch it again, you can sort of look at what date I did that and go, okay, this was a buy then, so it's obviously a buy now at a cheaper price, right? But what matters to me, it's the reason why I don't do 2-minute reviews, is that when somebody watches the review, I don't give a shit if they agree with my final. What I give a shit about is that they walk away and go, you know what? I don't agree with that. I'm buying it, but God damn it, I understand exactly what Karak was talking about. That is all I care about. Literally all I care about. And a couple times I've actually left the score off or left the summary off, just done the score, and left the score off on 2 to test that. And it met with a lot of people not even noticing, but it met with more people having issues with it and wanting that there. So there's still a need, I think, for the score and the summary and how I do the reviews. But in the future, man, it'd be awesome to just be like, you know, this game's a buy and just end the video right there. But I think until I get better at describing myself during reviews, I can't do that. But I will not do numerical reviews right alongside. I don't believe in them. I don't even think that way. I just don't even think that way. It's a weird way to think for some reason for me. Creator 99, why don't you review DLC? Well, I almost never have the chance. I think it's really important to remind people I buy everything. So if a PR company gives me a game, I go out when it's available for release and I purchase said game, and then I either keep it in my library or I give that game to patrons. That's like one of the ways in which if somebody ever says, well, you got the game for free, so you're reviewing it at a different level than somebody else may be. Even though I actually believe the opposite. I believe if I got something for free, I have no invested interest in that and no buyer's remorse for it. So I'm going to hammer the shit out of it. But regardless, I decided to get out of that conversation completely. No matter what, my money is spent. Regardless, that's the way it should be. My money is spent, and then I give it to patrons, or keep it myself if I want that copy for some reason. I don't review DLC because number one, it may cost me more, and I'm trying to move on to other new stuff. And also, guys, I am a consumer advocate style channel. My job is to make sure that the moment that Steam game goes, ta-da, you can buy it. You are getting ready to hit buy, and you look up, and right there in the curator section, if it's good, you see Karak talking about it, and if it's bad, you can go to my channel and hear about it. That is my plan. That is a big deal for me. In fact, I've had multiple companies who've been like, here's our code, day and date. And I'll be all, I already bought your game. Why would I want your code now? I'm not a mouthpiece. Twitch our mouthpiece. That's what that's for. That's for everybody to just play a game, and sometimes, play a shitty game and people think it's funny, so they still buy it. I don't believe in that shit. That's why I'm not a part of it. I believe in giving you a solid review with as much data contained within it so that when you are ready to buy, you have somewhere to go. And that's why, sorry, I don't review DLC because it's expensive and because I just don't get a chance to go back. There's always something new. Always something new. Leland says, Destiny and Division, despite the well-warranted criticism, are unique in that they are the first action blockbuster MMOs to ever hit mainstream consoles, if I'm not mistaken. How do you think these games will be seen in 10 years? Are they the prototypes for something extraordinary down the line? Yeah, I do believe so. For example, despite issues, Destiny and Division, and I have issues with both, and I like both for different reasons, one more so than the other. I am not a huge fan of Destiny versus a growing fan of the Division, even though the Division has issues. I liked Destiny when it first came out, and I've steadily sort of gone down, while the Division I liked somewhat, well, I liked a good amount when it first came out, but then it's gone up as I've played different DLC. I think that those are excellent moments for developers who are elsewhere to look and go, I think we can nail this. I think the Division has a lot of positives going on about it, especially just its overall fiction. Its fiction fits with what they want to do, and I like that. Destiny, same thing. Its fiction fits. Unfortunately, I think Destiny has some just almost travesties when it comes to its design, especially in how truncated some areas are. And it sounds like, too, that won't be happening. So, yeah, I think we are looking at a situation in which we will see vast improvements from other developers who are jumping into that space because they can look at both of those and say, what did they do wrong? And we can see some improvements. As well as we're going to have people who say, what did they do wrong or right? And they try to make something, and we see very terrible games. That'll happen as well. But I do believe that we are looking at something that in 5 or 10 years, we're going to have another game that probably nails it even better than they did. But let's be honest, both of those games nailed it. Destiny and Division did really well for themselves financially. So, I would say right now they're the ones who already nailed it. Anyway, so that's it for me. I appreciate it. Those were really good questions. Thanks. I kept this one. Yeah, this one's not bad. 33 minutes, something like that. I'll pimp the channel. I appreciate everybody watching it. It's been really fun to do. I appreciate people experimenting with some of the unique video types that I do on the channel, even though they didn't come for those. I've had fans of Weekly Warriors, fans of the podcast. It's been absolutely awesome to see people like some of the stuff that maybe some other channels wouldn't want to do all that kind of stuff. They would want to stick with one thing or maybe 2 or 3 things. And you guys have been fairly flexible with me going out there and saying, you know what, I'm going to try this. I'm going to try this fake commercial. I'm going to try Weekly Warriors. And people have embraced it. And people have really embraced the podcast. I'm just blown away because those are so friggin' fun to do. And we have really hit it off with a good group that's international, so you're getting all kinds of different ideas from different places. And we've done it fairly steadily. Of course, we'll miss a Friday here and there, so it's usually my fault. But it's been awesome to see people sort of latch on, and I'll get podcast emails where someone's like, dude, where's the email? Or where's the podcast? Like, where's the podcast? It's Friday, and I'm not seeing an international podcast, and I love that. I also want to say, if you get a chance, check out Patreon, guys. It does help, and I'm not lying when I say it's the smallest amount helps and keeps the channel afloat and keeps you guys in reviews, because I had one person who just a couple days ago was like, I can't believe you don't do more reviews. And I'm like, dude, I don't have a ton of money, and they cost me cash. Like, for the most part, they all cost money. So the easiest way to get more is to give a little. Anyway, that's it for me. I hope you guys liked the video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down. Peace out and enjoy the rest of your week.